A very good evening to one and all. I welcome you all to this news analysis initiative. Today I came across an article that really inspired me. It was about Mr. Rakesh Sharma, a station manager at New Delhi railway station, who has made it his personal mission to return lost items to passengers. He has already helped people get back more than 1,800 things from laptops and jewelry. What touched me was not the number, but the attitude. He doesn't get any extra reward. It's not even part of his job. Yet, he treats every case as a personal responsibility using whatever small tools he has, like PNR details, CCTV footage, phone calls. Okay. In a system where people often complain about delays or indifference, this one person shows what difference simple honesty, patience, and dedication can make. It reminded that public service is not only about big policies or powerful positions. Sometimes it's about small actions done with sincerity. And these small actions can rebuild trust in huge institutions. This story is a reminder that our role, our attitude, and our everyday choices can make someone's life easier. We don't need authority to create impact, we need commitment. Today's first news article is Former CJI opinion given in presidential reference does not overrule a judgment. The recent presidential reference opinion on governors' timelines has reignited the debate on the balance between the letter and spirit of India's constitution. The Supreme Court held that while specific timelines cannot be judicially imposed, indefinite inaction by governors violate constitutional morality. So these are the challenges associated with that. The first one is constitutional and federal challenges. The ambiguity of the reasonable period allows the governors to delay bills without explicit accountability. The constitutional silence on timelines often leads to power tussles between states and governors. And the governor's discretion has increasingly becoming political and not constitutional, especially in the opposition ruled states. So, the second is administrative challenges. That is, delays in legislative functionings affects the governance, welfare schemes and financial bills, and the lack of clear procedural norms for returning or reconsidering bills also add challenge to this. The third one is judicial challenges. Over reliance on courts to resolve executive and legislative disputes and difficulty in defining when indefinite inaction becomes unconstitutional. The fourth one is institutional challenges. The risk of using governors as mere rubber stamps to indirectly veto elected state legislatures. So, what are the reforms or the way forward to be taken care with? The first one is legislative reforms. Parliament may consider introducing outer limits, example like 60 to 90 days for governors and the president to act upon state bills, or a clear statutory framework detailing procedures for assent, return, and reservation of bills under Article 200 should be specified. The second one is administrative reforms. A creation of a national digital bill tracking system allowing state assemblies and governors to transparently monitor the status of bills. Mandatory requirement for governors to issue written reasons when withholding assent. The third one is strengthening constitutional morality. Orientations for newly appointed governors on constitutional conventions and federal norms should be given, and reinstating the principles that were followed by former presidents like Venkatraman and Mr. K.R. Narayanan, that is, independence without obstruction and oversight without overreach. So, these principles should be followed. The fourth one is judicial safeguards. Limited judicial review to examine mala-fide delay in exceptional cases should be there, and courts should also evaluate delays in assent based on contextual or situational factors rather than fixed formulas. The last one is strengthening federal measures. Regular center and state consultative forums should be held to minimize political misunderstanding, and reforming the appointment process of governors through broader consultation, and also reducing partisan appointments, which was stated in Punchi Commission. That can also be quoted upon. The next article for the day is UNSC reforms no longer an option but a necessity. Modi at IBSA meet. Okay. This is one of the major international relations developments which came today from the IBSA Leaders Summit, which was held in Johannesburg. Prime Minister Narendra Modi have made a very clear and a strong statement telling that UN Security Council reform is no longer an option but it is a necessity. Now, why is this important? Because IBSA, India, Brazil, and South Africa are all aspiring candidates for permanent membership in a reformed United Nations Security Council, and all three represent the global South. Okay, what are the key points which was highlighted during this meeting? The first one is UNSC reform, because the existing UNSC is outdated and it must reflect the current global realities, and IBSA should collectively push for structural reforms in UNSC. That is the first point. The second one is security cooperation. This meet has proposed institutionalizing national security advisor level meetings among the three countries, and it also stressed for zero tolerance for terrorism. The third one is technology and digital public infrastructure. Our Prime Minister has proposed creating an IBSA Digital Innovation Alliance to share UPI, COVID type health platforms, cybersecurity frameworks, and women led tech initiatives. This aligns with India's ongoing soft power push, which is like exporting digital public goods. The fourth one is IBSA Fund and South South Cooperation. IBSA Fund has supported projects in nearly 40 plus countries, and it has our Prime Minister also proposed IBSA Fund for Climate Resilient Agriculture, which is very much important for food security and adaptation. Okay. The next article for the day is Mind Your Administrative Language, says SC report. A new report from Supreme Court's Center for Research and Planning titled Reforming Administrative Nomenclature in the Indian Judiciary, Embedding Dignity and Equity in Service Rules. This report says that the judiciary must stop using certain job titles that carry colonial, casteist, and feudal baggage. The report calls these terms part of the grammar of inequality, which means invisible, unwritten hierarchy in society, and that is used in everyday language. The terms like scavengers, adobe, coolie, etc., these have been historically used, and it is associated with manual labors, caste fixed occupations, and subordination. Now it is being replaced with more dignified terminologies like sanitation assistant, laundry operator, freight assistant, and so on. This is an attempt to align administrative language with constitutional morality, especially Articles 14, 15, 17, and dignity under Article 21. A former CJI, in his foreword of this report, clearly said that continuing these labels normalizes outdated hierarchy and it undermines the work culture that the courts must uphold. And it is also in conflict with the judiciary's own pronouncements against discrimination. Okay, the report says that language itself is the judiciary's first act of justice. Okay, the next article for the day is Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called for a global compact to prevent misuse of artificial intelligence at the G20 summit in Johannesburg. He pointed out that AI is moving extremely fast and the risks are also rising, especially like deep fakes, cybercrime, terror use of AI, and erosion of public trust. Therefore, the world needs shared rules and not fragmented national rules. That he called for creating a global compact on AI. So, what are the core principles of this AI pact? The first one is effective human sight. The second one is safety by design. The third is transparency in AI systems. And fourth is strict restrictions on AI use, especially in deepfakes, crime, and terror activities. And these principles align with India's stand on human centric technology. And AI systems that affect human life must be responsible, auditable, and accountable. And decision making must always remain with human. The third one is open source. That is, technology should be global and national. Examples are UPI and CoWIN platforms. And the fourth one is preparing for the future, that is capabilities of tomorrow. He said that the world must shift from jobs of today to capabilities of tomorrow. That is, it emphasizes that talent mobility, skilling, and movement of skilled professionals. The last one is India is planning to host AI Impact Summit 2026, and the theme for that is Sarvajanam Hitaya, Sarvajanam Sukhaya, which means welfare for all, happiness for all. The next article for the day is PM discusses trade critical minerals with Ramaphosa. During the G20, Prime Minister met South African President to deepen India-South African cooperation. The first one is to deepen the economic and investment linkages and to expand bilateral trade corridors, special economic zones, and investment proportion mechanisms. And they have also agreed to co develop value chains in pharmaceuticals, textiles, manufacturing, and green energy. The second one is critical minerals partnership. This is to promote India South Africa collaboration on battery technologies and rare earth alternatives, and they have also agreed upon joint exploration, processing, and supply chain diversification. The third one is AI and digital public infrastructure cooperation. They have agreed to set up joint working groups on AI ethics, data governance, and digital skilling. And India has also agreed to deploy UPI style interoperability models for Africa's fintech and welfare systems. The fourth one is to strengthen food security cooperation. They have agreed to expand agricultural research partnerships, climate resilient crops, and millet based nutrition solutions. Okay, the fifth one is to boost people to people ties. They have agreed to launch youth exchanges, scholarships, and cultural missions, and also they have agreed to promote diaspora engagement and tourism. The next article for the day is The Future of Health Lies in Harmony. This article is written by Union Minister of State for Ayush and Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare, Prataprao Jadhav. Okay, WHO has established Global Traditional Medicine Center in Jamnagar, Gujarat, and India is hosting the second WHO Global Summit on Traditional Medicine in 2025. Okay, the challenges that are associated with traditional medicine. The first one is scientific validation. There is a need for rigorous clinical studies and standardized methodologies, and there are variability in formulations and lack of uniform global protocols. The second challenge is commercialization, the risk of biopiracy and the exploitation of local knowledge. However, there are also challenges in ensuring fair benefit sharing with communities. Okay, the third one is sustainability concerns. Now, when we go for traditional medicines, over harvesting of medicinal plants threatens biodiversity, and the climate change also impacts on traditional medicinal ecosystems. Fourth one is integration with modern medicines. There is resistance from allopathic systems because of the fear of parallelism. So, and there is a need for seamless electronic health records and regulatory guidelines. And the fifth one is we need global acceptance and standards. There is differing regulatory regimes across countries, and there are also lack of standardized training, certification and quality control. And the last one is affordability and accessibility. And despite popularity with respect to traditional medicines, many products remain unavailable or unaffordable for vulnerable groups. Okay, so what is the way forward for this? The first one is evidence based integration to strengthen the clinical trials, analysis, and pharmacovigilance in Ayush. The second point is standardization and quality control. That is to promote globally the Ayush standards, especially via Bureau of Indian Standards. And we also have to develop good manufacturing practices for herbal formulations. The third one is sustainability and ethical governance. This is to implement biodiversity protection and fair benefit sharing, which is urged in the Gujarat Declaration, and also to encourage cultivation based sourcing, especially to protect wild medicinal plants. The fourth one is innovation. We have to use AI, genomics, and big data to personalize Ayush treatments, and digital documentation of traditional knowledge to prevent biopiracy is also essential. The fifth one is integration into health systems. That is to create integrative health centers in primary health centers, district hospitals, and medical colleges. We also should introduce Ayush based preventive wellness modules in national health programs. The sixth one is we have to strengthen the global cooperation. That is, we need to leverage our leadership in WHO's 10-year strategy, that is 2025 to 2034, and we have to expand South-South cooperation through training, research, and affordable access. The next article for the day is how can state PSCs be reformed? Okay, that is state public service commissions were created during pre-independence India due to the demand for merit-based civil services. It began with Montego Chelmsford report and institutionalized through the Government of India Act 1935. While the UPSC functions with stability and credibility, the state PSCs are affected by delays, irregular notifications, litigations, and allegations of politicization, creating a serious trust deficit among aspirants. So, what are the challenges that are faced? Under structural challenges, the first one is politicization and patronage based appointments. The second one is there is no dedicated ministry of personnel in most states. And the third one is irregular declaration of vacancies and absence of manpower planning. The second challenge is procedural challenges. It is mainly because of the outdated syllabus and lack of periodic reforms, and limited access to qualified paper setters and evaluators. The third one is weak moderation, which is leading to the subjectivity in evaluation, and there is an inconsistency in translation between English and regional languages. Next, the third one is administrative challenges, that is inability to manage this reservation structures, and the frequent court cases also are halting the recruitment cycles, and insufficient use of technology balanced with confidentiality. And the fourth one is credibility and the trust challenges. This is because due to repeated cancellation, aspirants lose faith in State Public Service Commission, and there is a perception that UPSC is efficient while State Public Service Commission are unreliable. Okay, so what can be the way forward? It can be given under 5 points. The first one is structural reforms. Under structural reforms, the first one is we have to establish a dedicated state ministry of personnel to plan the manpower needs, and they should prepare a 5-year recruitment roadmap. And we need to come up with a constitutional amendment to fix the minimum age and the maximum age. The second one is that should be qualifications for officials and non-official members should also be prescribed. Okay. And the third one is that should be a mandatory consultation with the leader of opposition. The second one is syllabus and examination reforms. In this, there should be a periodic revision similar to the UPSC's committee-based model, and a public consultation should be there before the syllabus reforms should have been taken. The third one is there should be an improved translation between English and regional languages using technology as well as human oversight. The third one is evaluation and moderation reforms. We have to adopt UPSC's inter-say moderation to reduce subjectivity in paper evaluation, and we should also invite external experts from universities and civil services nationwide. The fourth reforms can be put under the heading administrative reforms. The first one is we need to appoint a senior officer as a secretary of the Public Service Commission. And the fifth one is legal and reservation management. That is, we have to standardize software and trained personnel for reservation calculation. The next article for the day is Justice Surya Kant to take oath as Chief Justice today. So appointment of the Chief Justice of India is a very important prelims area. The Constitution itself keeps it very simple. Article 124 clause 2 says that judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by the President, but it does not say how the CJI is chosen. We simply follow a constitutional convention. That is, the senior most judge of the Supreme Court is made the next CJI, and this is not written anywhere in the Constitution, but it has become a time-tested practice. Okay, the process is very straightforward. The outgoing CJI will recommend the name for the senior most judge, and the law minister sends this to the prime minister, and the prime minister will advise the president, and finally the president will appoint the new CJI, and the oath is taken before the president. The next article for the day is COP30 stresses adaptation as path to fossil fuel free world. Okay, COP30 is very important for prelims and mains because there is a major shift in the global climate narrative. This year at Belém, Brazil, the message was very simple. The world cannot talk only about ending fossil fuels, but we must also learn to live with climate change. So the emphasis here was on adaptation, not just mitigation. Countries adopted what is called the Multirao Agreement. Multirao is actually a Portuguese word which means coming together. Okay, under this we have agreed for a 2-year work program on climate finance, and we saw about this in detail yesterday. And the other one is adaptation finance must be at least tripled by 2035. So why this is told so? Because mitigation projects like solar farms or EVs attract private investors easily, but adaptation like flood resistant infrastructure, drought resilient crops does not bring profit. So developing countries are demanding more money. Another important point is COP30 said there must be a systematic dialogue with UN trade bodies like World Trade Organization, UN Trade and Development, and International Trade Center. This is to ensure that climate measures by rich countries do not become trade barriers for developing countries. Example, the recent carbon border adjustment mechanisms of European Union. So this is very important for India because policies like carbon border tariffs can hurt our exports. So the final point is COP30 agreement did not mention fossil fuels at all. Okay, and about just a transition mechanism we have seen yesterday, and in this COP30 we have prioritized adaptation, and we have tripled the finance by 2035. Okay, these are the key points. The next article for the day is ITBP to set up 10 all women border posts along line of actual control. This is an important development for security, women empowerment as well as for prelims. Okay, ITBP is Indo-Tibetan Border Police, which guards the 3,500 kilometer border between India and China. They have announced about setting up 10 all women border outpost, and this is a part of something known as forwardization plan. Now under this plan, India is pushing its post forward along the LAC for quicker response and to ensure strong deterrence. And right now we have created two all women posts in Lukung in Ladakh and Tangi in Himachal Pradesh. It is also making a major step in gender inclusion in combat support and border guarding roles. This is a good example for GS2 and for essays on women in armed forces. The next article for the day is this article is a very good case study on wildlife governance gaps. Okay, the African grey parrot, it is not just any bird, rather it is listed as endangered under IUCN, and it is placed in Appendix 1 of CITES, that is highest level of protection, which means that trade is allowed only in exceptional circumstances, and it also requires CITES permits, import licenses, and state wildlife warden approval. But the problem is RTI replies from 19 states show that India has almost zero records of breeders and authorized pet shops. Okay, and the only exception was Kerala, and this shows there is a huge administrative gap. This lack of registries poses a certain health risk, especially with respect to zoonotic diseases and biosecurity hazards, and it is also an environmental threat because it could be a potential invasive species. The next article, that is the photo shot of the day, is um, scientists have reported the discovery of the world's largest known spider web, which is inside the sulfur cave at the Greece Albania border. Okay, they have found that nearly 1.1 lakh spiders are living together, but usually spiders are solitary creatures, they don't share space with others, but this is a communal web. So this discovery shows that species can evolve social behavior under certain ecological conditions like temperature, when there is an abundant insect prey. The last article for the day is where this the other day we were looking into Jane Goodall's quote, and this is her actual discovery in 1960s, when she observed that chimpanzees in Gombe National Park, they were using twigs as tools to extract termites. Till then, scientists believed tool use was a unique human ability. However, Jane Goodall's discovery shattered that myth. Now, a new study has come similar to that. It challenges another idea which is restricted only to human. That is the ability to evaluate evidence, revise beliefs. Okay, so they found that chimpanzees don't just react, rather they think. They combine old and new information and revise their logical option. Alright, that's all for today's news analysis. Remember, small daily improvements compound into big results. So stay focused, stay disciplined. See you in the next session. Thank you all for joining.